Hi, welcome back. I hope you had a really good Christmas and New Year. I thought I'd include some really different videos this year, not just on the Homeric epics or the Aeneid, but on actually what you might read if you wanted to just read more about classics for pleasure. A lot of us have been setting up New Year's resolutions for January, and the most common ones tend to be losing weight, learning a language, or perhaps reading more. So my video is really going to be about the third one and what you can read from the charts, really, if you want to learn more about classics. The first book I wanted to start with was my favourite, the one I've read most recently and enjoyed the most, and that is The Wolf Den by Elodie Harper. What I really like about this book is that it's not just about a myth, which a lot of books in the charts at the moment are. That's not a criticism, it's just a preference. The Wolf Den really follows the story of what life would be like for a slave woman living in Pompeii. So the main character is a Greek woman called Amara. That is her given name, her prostitute name, because she has been taken forcibly and is forced to live as a slave, working in a brothel, also known as a wolf den, in Pompeii. So the term she-wolf, lupa, is a byword, is an alternative word really for prostitute, and you might have heard about that if you looked at the myth of Rhea Silva and the idea that Romulus and Remus were raised by a she-wolf. So often when we think about that story, we think about a wolf finding these boys exposed somewhere by a river, but actually it could also mean that they were raised by a prostitute and be a kind of slur word for the woman that raised them outside of a family setting. Anyway, back to The Wolf Den. Amara is a really kind of plucky, strong character who has to deal with lots of different women who come into the brothel and who live with her. What's great about the way that Elodie Harper wrote this is that she's worked really hard to build a full world around Amara, so whether you visited Pompeii or not, you'll get a real sense for what the city would have been like back then. She's included things like graffiti and artefacts to give you a sense of what that city would have been like as a living city, and each chapter is prefaced with an epigram, a Roman epigram on life in Pompeii and life in the Roman city. If you are teaching city in the Roman world, I would say read this for yourself, but do not recommend it to a GCSE student. There are bits in it that just aren't quite appropriate. Having said that, even though this book goes through the lives of prostitutes at a really difficult point in history, it's not gratuitous in the way that it explains sort of sexual violence and sex. It's not unnecessarily graphic. It sort of says it like it is and doesn't say more than it needs to, which I thought was really good. It was one of the things I was a bit concerned about when I picked the book up, that it might be something that, you know, exploits the content and just goes into graphic detail for the sake of shock value, and she doesn't do that at all, which I was really pleased with. It's a really gripping story and it ends on a real cliffhanger as well. The next instalment of this is coming out in April, so The House with the Golden Door comes out in April. I should say, no relation to Elodie Harper, don't know her at all, have no vested interest in recommending the book, other than it gives you a really good introduction to life in a Roman city and the lived experience of real people at that time. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to keep the channel going. And if you're interested in having some artwork based around Pompeii, take a look at my Redbubble store down below. There are lots of different designs on amazing products at really, really good prices. Okay, thank you. Bye.